Hi, this is Rebecca Jones with my pre-departure trip video. Um, so this is a project that is actually really difficult for me. Before I left for Africa, my family friend Rose, one of her coworkers is Dr. Tomasia, and he has traveled so much in his life. He and his wife have seen most of the world. And his only advice before I left was keep an open mind. And it really made me think that the one thing that I really think I've learned from traveling is to go with an open mind and to not really try and think about what the trip is going to be like. Just experience it as it comes. And not in a way that that's an excuse to be ignorant, but more so from a standpoint of, I think to me, when I expect to see something, like when I build it up in my mind for so long, when it actually happens, the sensation of it is kind of dull because I've spent so much time thinking about it. So there's something kind of really great to just having a really raw, unexpected experience. So personally, as far as what I'm expecting, I'm not really sure. I mean, I am expecting to learn an incredible amount. I'm expecting to come away with significantly more of an appreciation for South African culture and history. And I know we covered it a lot in class, but I think it's going to be a lot different experiencing it in person. So those are definitely things that I'm personally very excited for, and I'm also, of course, like ridiculously excited to see animals and touch an elephant by the time this is over. So, which is still kind of mind blowing to me, like really mind blowing. But those are definitely things that I'm also looking forward to. And just to kind of like throw it in there, as I was saying, like what I've learned from traveling, I've been pretty lucky to be able to travel pretty decent amount for someone my age so far. I went to London when I was younger with my parents. I've been to Mexico and Canada and the Caribbean also with my parents. This last winter break, I went to Canada just with some friends. And about 3 or 4 years ago, I traveled to Italy and Greece for the summer. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, like background experience. But I would say the most culture immersion I've ever really gotten was being in Greece. So I think that'll happen even significantly more in South Africa, and I think that is personally one of the things that I'm looking forward to the most. Professionally, I think this trip is going to look awesome on a resume. People and organizations really love to see that you have traveled because it gives them the idea that you can be more open-minded, that you can be more culturally aware, that you can deal with change and be a little bit flexible. So I think this trip will kind of help me continue working on those skills. I also think, well, this is where I don't really know where to think. I'm hoping it'll look good on my resume from the fact that, I've gotten a little bit of exposure to more exotic animals. But in reality, I don't know how much it'll help with that. I'll get to the elephant sanctuary later. In the part where you asked about additional thoughts and stats, I kind of want to talk about that. But, I'm not necessarily working with them. I'm not caring for them. I'm not feeding them. But I am going to get more exposure to them than the average person. So I'm kind of interested to see how that will or won't help me. But I don't think this trip isn't going to help me. Scratch that, because I think, again, just the fact that I'm traveling professionally is going to be a huge help. And I think potentially later down the road, if I ever wanted to travel to South Africa again, like say next summer I wanted to do an internship like Tiffany Mariner did 2 years ago, where she went to Africa for 2 months of the summer and worked on a wildlife reserve. I think it could really help me to be able to go back and do something like that because I've had exposure to the country. So I think that's pretty fantastic. Perceptions of what to see. I really want to see an elephant out and about in the wild. So that's my biggest goal, my biggest hope. But I'm going to see and touch an elephant no matter what at the elephant sanctuary, so it's pretty exciting. I also really love to see a giraffe. I know I'm kind of going for the big things, but those are of course the things that I want to see the most, I think. I think one of the things that I'm expecting to see the most of is kind of more of like wild dogs. Just kind of when I think of the most common thing that we'll see closest to our little van, that's kind of what I keep picturing in my mind. So I'm also really interested to see if that's more accurate or inaccurate. Um, and then additional thoughts of stops. Okay, so here's where I'm going to get into the elephant sanctuary. The elephant sanctuary was the part of my group project that I did. And when I first looked it up, I was so excited because I absolutely adore elephants. They're my favorite animal by far, as they are for most people, and or at least a lot of people. But then looking into it, I'm a little bit torn. It's definitely more of a tourist attraction than a sanctuary. That being said, I don't think the elephants are mistreated. I don't necessarily think that I think there's anything wrong with it. That's kind of where I'm stuck. So from looking at their website and kind of looking into them, their whole bit is that they rescue and domesticate elephants with positive reinforcement so that the elephants enjoy being around people, and then people can come and pay lots of money and spend time with them. So in a way, that's not really any different than a zoo. You know, you come and you spend money to see animals and learn about them and garner a greater appreciation from them. So I don't really know why I would have a problem with it, but it's not necessarily a sanctuary in the way that I thought it was. So I think one of the things that is going to kind of determine my judgment more is to see if it's really only a place that foreigners go to or locals, because if it's only drawing in people that already revere elephants, I don't really know how much it's doing to get a greater appreciation for them. So that's kind of one of the stops that I'm the most curious to see how I feel about it once we're there. So I'm also kind of curious if I feel the same way or have any of the same thoughts about other stops as I kind of do currently about the elephant sanctuary. I kind of feel like any time that you do travel with a group, there's going to be parts where you feel like you're doing nothing but touristy stuff, and that's okay. It's pretty expected, but I'm kind of wondering where the line is going to be with that on this trip. Because it's so different. Any of the other kind of traveling I've ever really done so far, other than, small camping trips pretty locally, have been much more city oriented. So I think that's something that I'm really excited to kind of see how it goes. As I said in the beginning of this video, I was really struggling with this project, and I actually was asking for help from people that are in my group, and the wonderful Jason Dahl gave me a great idea that he said he had his family ask him questions to kind of give him an idea of where to go with the project. So I put it up on Facebook for all of my friends and family to see and ask them to ask me any questions. So I have a little list of them that I'm going to try and answer. So my dad posted, what do I expect of the food and accommodations? So food, no matter where I go, is one of the things that I am always the most excited for. So I definitely think like a couple months ago, I was expecting more like really exotic and kind of spicy food, and realizing more after asking you about it that it's more going to be like breaded meat and like very heavily Dutch and French influenced. And in talking to people, I've really learned that South African food is one of the best fusion foods that there really is, because it's had so many cultures influence it. So definitely something I am super excited for. And he also asked what our accommodations will be like. A lot of people think that I'm like camping in the bush, so I think they're going to be pretty nice in comparison to that. But I kind of realized when I was packing that I don't know how it's going to work. Like, I know you said bring your own washcloths. They don't necessarily supply them. But things like I'm trying to pack on carry-on, so I'm not bringing a razor, and I'm wondering if I should buy one at the airport or if one of the places we stay might provide like a courtesy razor or sell one like most hotels in America do. A family friend named Sue asked, how do the locals react to foreigners? this is, I think, one of the things that I am really the most curious about learning. Or maybe kind of liked or distrusted or just kind of looked at as money pots. I think that's kind of what I'm expecting, and I don't know if that's kind of big-headed of me, but I think that's really kind of more of what I'm expecting. Jason asked who will I sit next to on the plane, so I think I'm sitting next to Jason. And then my friend Carly asked, how many people do I expect to see wearing down coats in 90-degree weather? She's been to Africa, so I'm not quite sure where that's coming from, but I do think it brings up that a lot of people expect it to be really hot. Everybody I talk to is like, oh, are you going to, have enough shorts and like dresses to stay cool? And I'm perpetually explaining to people that it's winter and it's cold because we are very, very south. So that is my pre-departure inspection video. I really just overall think that this is going to be a wonderful experience that is going to help me grow both personally and professionally, and I'm really excited to see what comes of it and to keep an open mind before I go. Thank you. Bye.